All right, hey there, my travel and Pisces peeps.
Hey, what's up, fam? What's good?
All right, so we are excited for today. You know, since we hit the road 11 months ago, full-time traveling, we have met so many cool people. And it's very surprising that a lot of people are our age and still working full-time. And even more surprising, there's a lot of families that have children that are still in school. So,
Right, so today we're... so that's the first edit. So today we're sitting with Camper Size Living. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm James.
I'm Autumn. I'm Kimberly.
All right, and if you aren't subscribed to their channel, make sure you do so. We'll put a link up to the top. They got a very cool channel. But we wanted to sit down and do an interview with them to get their perspective on traveling as a family, especially with a child, right?
absolutely.
Well, let me rephrase that. A young adult. A young adult. So, you know, we do have a little bit of experience with that. We did have Dimitri earlier in the year, but he's a little bit older. But we wanted to get a little bit more insight on, you know, a teenager's perspective of being on the road and traveling.
Yeah, and so you guys, when you first started out, you started out how many years ago?
It'll be 3 years this June.
3 years, yeah. And when you first started out, though, you had 2 of the kids with you, right?
That's
right.
So
Yeah.
so wow, that's a lot of fun, though.
It was fun. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so what was the catalyst for you guys wanting to get out and live on the road instead of being in your typical sticks and bricks or your house, for the people that don't know what sticks and bricks are?
You want to take that one?
Well, I think we kind of wanted to get our time back. We were just like rushing around like most Americans are. Get up, hustle to school, hustle to work. Then long days for the kids and us. Then come home, get dinner in, get schoolwork done, rush off to do the sports or whatever, and then get to bed and then do it again the next day. Or if you're not doing something in the evening, it's watch TV and then go to bed.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and you feel kind of like, to me, you remember the old Bugs Bunny commercial with Sam the shepherd dog, and he'd go and he'd clock in and
Right.
he'd go do the
Hey,
work and he'd go and he'd clock out and he'd go home and then over.
Or even the
Isn't
Dunkin'
that-
Donuts commercial where it's time to make the donuts. We're
Right.
just constantly doing them all over and you're catching up.
We're
with
really
yourself in the
showing
morning.
our age
Yeah,
here
we
right
are.
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but isn't that how it makes you feel when you really
Absolutely.
don't get to connect as a family as much as you want to?
That's
and
right.
not just that, but I don't know about you guys, but I felt like our stress level had us so much, it was so much more heightened to where
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like, you know, we found our ways of not snapping at one another, but just not feeling as close as we could
All
be.
those
Right.
outside pressures
Yeah,
from work
absolutely.
and school and
Yeah.
the rush of time. And I think the other thing is that with Jake and Autumn, so our older 2 boys that we had, they had traveled around with us just as we moved for work or school or that sort of thing. And with Jake and Autumn, though, they had spent most of their lives in South Carolina, which is a
Right.
great place to live. But we started kind of realizing that their perspective was pretty localized.
Narrowed, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was like they had a good perspective, but
Right.
they really couldn't think outside of that local area because they hadn't experienced it,
Yeah.
you know, as older kids.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, one thing that goes on with having a family on the road traveling is that Kimberly and Autumn have to homeschool. So, Kimberly, can you tell us a little bit about that experience, about like homeschooling? Did you have any, like, I guess, teacher experience prior to being on the road?
I was a preschool teacher for 7 years prior to going on the road, and it had been on my heart. My oldest was very good in school. School was good for him. But then my second son and my third one, they really struggled. And so it had been kind of on my heart for a little while to homeschool anyway, but I wasn't brave enough, didn't have the resources
Right.
to really pull the trigger and do it. So when we started talking about this, that was an easy transition for me to start thinking about, because I was already there.
So, what kind of advice or what would you recommend families that are looking to begin homeschooling and getting on the road?
Keep it fun. You got to keep it fun, and you got to stay flexible. If something's not working, don't be afraid to change it, and just keep trying to find the new thing that fits right for your child's learning style. And like I said, just keep it flexible. If you don't hit the books per se every day of the week, that's still okay, because look at everything we're doing, all the
Right.
places that we're seeing and doing. That has a lot of value.
All right. So now I guess we move on to Miss Autumn here. So Autumn, what is your perspective on traveling and doing full-time homeschooling, as opposed to when you were in regular school? What's your difference? What do you see as the differences?
With homeschooling, I have so much more time. It takes 2 hours to 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours max, to get my school done, and then I have the rest of my day to do whatever I want and need to do. And then, yeah.
Okay. Do you feel that you're learning more in this situation as opposed to being in a classroom with other children?
Yes, definitely. I feel like I'm learning a lot more just from experiences, from where we're going, talking to people about what they've done. And I don't have a very, very long attention span, so short schooling
Neither do
rather
we.
than sitting in like a classroom for 2 hours and having this one thing spread out. It's all like in this like area, and I can focus on it myself and be more solo with it than have a teacher telling me what to do.
Okay. What's your least favorite thing about homeschooling?
That's a good thing if it's a hard one to think of. And you don't have to have one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think
No?
I do have one.
Okay, then what's
That's
your
a good
favorite
thing.
thing about it?
Or you're just like, let her breathe.
It's my favorite. My favorite thing is definitely the time and being able to hang out with my family and like actually be able to talk and breathe with my family rather than being like all like stressed out, worried about like school.
All the other things in school that stress you out that aren't related to
school.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
there's so many outside pressures in school at your age. I can imagine that being able to have the one-on-one and being able to focus on what you're supposed to be learning, it makes it a lot easier and less stressful, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
I bet.
Yeah, if you think about like Jacob, he was he a freshman maybe when we started this or sophomore. So his freshman year though, we'd drop him off in the morning for like football workouts, and then he'd have school, and then he'd have practice afterwards. He was working 13-hour days at the school. Then they'd give him 2 hours of homework at home.
Right.
How many grown-ups would go work 13-hour days, period, 5 days a week, and then also do 2 more hours at home?
Yeah, and it's hard. It's not only hard on them, but it's a lot of responsibility at such a young age to, be focused on keeping your grades up and then doing all of that. And because nowadays for colleges, having great grades is not enough. You've got to be so well-rounded. So they say, you've got to have these outside activities. You've got to be part of, groups and this and that and the other. It's a lot of pressure for young people.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one more question for Autumn. What advice would you give to other teenagers that are getting ready to go on the road with their families? How, any recommendations or suggestions for them?
Definitely try and stay in touch with people you meet. It's been a big thing because I can go back, like I have friends in Michigan, friends in Arizona, and then friends that are road schoolers that are also, so we can meet up with them, and it's really nice to be able to keep in touch.
Yeah, and that must be a lot of fun too, because you get to hear about where they've been, you get to tell them where you've been, so you get to like catch up and have good quality time.
Yes, ma'am.
So James and Kimberly, what if anything have you noticed as far as Autumn, as far as changes in her since you guys have been doing this full time?
I think probably the biggest change is how comfortable she is talking to people of all different ages.
Right.
Yeah, definitely boosts her confidence.
Oh, yeah.
She giggles. Go ahead. What did you say about this?
I still have a hard time talking to people my age.
You're more comfortable around other people, older people.
Yes, sir.
That's probably because we're used to talking face to face with other people, whereas your generation is so used to being on the phones, the Game Boys, or wait, do they even have Game Boys?
No, they don't.
Okay.
Right, they got the microphone.
Hey, I didn't
and
say
all.
Atari. But yeah, no, I completely understand that. I know when we first met up with you guys, we were in Quartzsite, and we were around the campfire, and I spotted Autumn first, and she was over there, and she was sitting, I forget who she was talking to, but her face, she just had this big smile on her, and it just drew me to her, to see her so comfortable in that atmosphere, and she was just really out enjoying it. It was great to see.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that's just the biggest change I've seen in her.
Yeah.
Is I guess just a boldness and speaking with other people.
And I think the biggest change I've seen in her is she has broadened her perspective. I mean, she'll be watching a movie or something. Oh yeah, remember when we went there?
We were just doing that yesterday.
You know, she was watching a show, the Roswell, right?
Uh-huh.
She's like, oh, I've been on that cliff.
Right.
You know what that's in the movie.
Yep.
And so she now thinks way outside of South Carolina.
Absolutely.
And has the experience from South Carolina. So that's been cool to see her develop.
That's really cool.
I know. And I know Demetrius going to watch this and be like, see, I told them, because he tried for years before he even introduced us to this, because, you know, we stole it from him. Yes, we tell everybody. But years before that, he was really trying to get me to homeschool.
Right.
And I was just like, you know, I was so close-minded to that because, you know, I hadn't ever been around anyone else that had ever homeschooled and didn't know, you know, I was like, no, I can't imagine kids not having that interaction with other kids their age. But now to see all of the families that we've met with children that are being homeschooled, it's you know, quite amazing to see how well-rounded they are and their perspective on the world and the U.S. And
here's a little shameless plug. Kimberly just did a really great video about our homeschool curriculum.
Yes.
So you can find that on our channel.
We'll put a link to that video right up there somewhere.
Yes, so, I loved it. It was really cool. Very cool.
She's been wanting to do that for a while.
Now, speaking of curriculum, when you go out to different locations, do you try to incorporate your location in some of the teachings that you're doing?
Absolutely, and that's probably, like I was saying, it's okay to set the books aside and dig in deep to wherever you're at. I mean, it's way better than watching it on a film or a movie or a documentary. Let's go walk the walk and touch it with our hands.
And the reason I ask, because I know just in our travels, you know, we've learned so much.
Right.
And a lot of times when I reflect back to what was being taught in school, either they didn't teach that or they only gave you a little bits and pieces of it, so you had to really get the rest of it from being on the road and actually going to those places.
But there's actually been some things that we learned in school that we found wasn't correct.
Right.
You know, and it's like, wow, you know, what are the books are teaching us certain things, and it's not correct way of history. So it's pretty shocking. So what do you think about since your kids were both in public schools versus homeschooling, how much of a difference do you see between the two, like, curriculums?
Oh, I got to just go back to the stress level just drops, you know, almost non-existent.
Right.
That, you know, they're not all stressed out. And that's probably the biggest thing I've seen.
And, you know, and I go back to, you know, some of the families that we met too, but, you know, we've met so many younger children, and just sitting talking to them, it's amazing that these young children, their views are so much older than, you know, they have a larger vocabulary, you know, they talk about their journeys, and you know, it's
probably
really cool.
One of my biggest things when we first start off, if they're interested in learning something, they're going to retain it.
Absolutely.
And they're going to go way deeper than anything I would have forced her to do.
Right.
So we try to, you know, if she's interested in a certain topic, I let her go, because she's going to dig in and she's going to remember it, and it's going to be retainable.
Right.
And that's that, you know, you don't get that kind of depth.
No, because in school it's okay, we got to move on to this next chapter, then we got to take the test, and we got to make sure that the tests are good, and then we move on to the next one, because
and
we
if
have
one
so
child
much
is
that we
able
have
to keep up, sometimes they leave that one behind, so they don't
They don't
the rest
have that
of the class.
time to dig in themselves, and and they're teaching for tests.
Right.
At the end of the
Teaching
day.
to pass the test. Absolutely. Yeah, we experienced that a lot in Florida.
She's been reading this set of books about different historical things in America, and we were walking when we were out in Quartzsite. We were just taking a walk, walking the dog, and she just would not stop talking. She about told us what the whole book was. I said, "Is this your book report?" You know, she just was diving into that thing, and it's part of her school, but she loves it,
But she
and
was
she
young.
couldn't wait to tell us about it. Yeah.
Because she didn't have the pressure of having to read it and just get through it and finish it. It
Right.
was being able to sit down, relax, and really get
Yeah.
involved in the book.
Yeah, her reflections on that were awesome.
That's great.
So, Autumn, once you graduated school, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I feel like I could do something that takes a lot of smarts, but I really love taking care of people, and I think I could do something like be a nurse.
Travel
or,
nurse?
Yeah,
Right.
there you go.
Or an
Do you want to
EMT.
own a home and live in a sticks and bricks, or do you want to continue nomad life and stay on the road?
I want to at least when I'm like in my like early like 18 to like 20, I want to keep traveling, but because so many people want to do that, but they don't
Right.
have the opportunity.
Right.
But I would like to be able to settle down in like my 20s and then be able to like start a family.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure asking you all these questions. Thank you for allowing us to do this interview.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Guys, don't forget Camper Size Living. That link is going to be right up there. Make sure you hit their subscribe button, check out their channels, and find out more about their traveling with a child or a young adult. I keep saying child. She's not a child. So, all right. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now.
Can I know you're gonna have to edit.
Right.
Here's the
Yeah,
question.
Edit.
Can she? Do you want us when we're answering the questions to look
Well,
at you?
no. Well,
or-
just normal conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna like when they're talking, I'm gonna use that footage from over there, and then when
Okay.
we're talking over here, I'll probably use that footage from over
Yeah,
here.
so you guys just
So
be
don't
comfortable.
worry about-
Yeah, don't worry about what the
where you're
cameras
looking.
are,
Yeah.
you know, and all that
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah,
Just-
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
You're good.
So what was your question?
I'm not end up
You
doing
guys
all
are
the questions.
good.
I don't know
And you
because I had
write the
I know
questions.
because you were just
I think that just came from my corporate America.
Yeah, yeah. You
Just interviewing
I
and
was
talking
like,
to
oh
people.
boy, it's going off script.
He went way off script. I'm like looking through.
Where is this going?
Okay.